Hi there. Welcome back to Life Reconsidered with your girl, Dr. T. Today, we want to look at fundamental skills for academic success for preschoolers and elementary school kids. Another time, we will look at skills that middle schoolers and high schoolers need to have, or as a parent, you need to encourage for them to be successful. Now let's go straight to looking at what our preschoolers need. Three main areas. We're going to look at the intellectual skills, we're going to look at physical skills, and we're going to look at social skills. Let's start with the intellectual skills. With regards to the intellectual skills, as a parent, you want to help your preschooler with language articulation. Help the child to learn how to communicate with you, first of all, as a parent, and with others. If the child says a word wrong, don't just brush it to the side and say, oh, they're going to grow out of it, but use that as a teachable moment to teach the child the right word, the right way to say it, and be consistent with it so that the child can learn and improve upon their language articulation. Consistency is key. As a parent, you are the first teacher of that child, so to speak. So being consistent in the way you communicate with the child, being consistent in the way you help the child with their articulation is key, very critical. The child must be encouraged to recognize letters and numbers. If your child is in school, great. If your kiddo is not in school and is at home, you want to use resources on YouTube, educational resources. One in particular that I usually recommend for parents is Miss Rachel. Another one for numbers that I like is Alpha Blocks. There are so many educational videos that you can help your kiddo to recognize letters, numbers, and help with their articulation skills. Help the child to recognize fundamental words for reading, like 2-letter words or 3-letter words. I remember growing up, we used to have 2-letter words, rhymes, like S-O-So, L-O, low, G-O, go, stuff like that. You want to help your child to be able to put those 2-letter words or 3-letter words together and teach them how to sound it. It helps with reading later on. If you as a parent notice any speech difficulty, don't wait, don't hesitate, address it sooner than later. You can look at resources at your child's school. If you have the ability to enroll the child in speech therapy, please do so. If you don't, you can reach out to the school. They have educational resources through school that can approve your child for speech therapy without you having to pay. So if your child have any speech difficulty, please don't wait. Reach out to the school, explore resources, and get help for your kiddo. Let's look at the social area. With a preschooler, you want to pay attention to how the child is relating with others, how they are interacting with others. Help the child to build skills like empathy, learning to share, learning to work with others, learning to communicate their needs and wants. And also pay attention to how the child is getting along with other kiddos in a group setting. Some kiddos are good with one-to-one play, but when it's in a group setting, they are not able to. So pay attention to areas like that. And if there are any issues, address them sooner than later. Now let's look at the physical side. With the physical skills, you want to help the kiddo develop skills like riding bicycles, swimming lessons, taking some music classes. You also want to help the child learn how to draw, encourage creative skills. Creativity is important, especially between the ages 1 to 5. Encourage a lot of drawing, a lot of writing, and a lot of physical movement as well. These are the few areas that you want to pay attention to if you have a preschooler. If your kiddo is in school, it makes it easier for them to be able to develop some of these skills. However, you want to supplement at home so that the child will grow well-rounded and improve a lot quicker than the child who is not in school. Now, if your kiddo is not in school, there are other resources that you can use. Most libraries have story time. Sometimes it's twice a week. Sometimes it's 3 times a week. You can take advantage of those resources in the library. And there are other moms in the neighborhood who can come together. They do a little bit stay home school or educating their kiddos at home. You can collaborate with such parents and you can share and help your kiddo who is not yet in school. All right, let's look at our kinders to 5th graders. Now, with our kiddos between kinder and 2nd grade, setting structure or routine and healthy boundaries are very critical. You want to set up a structure and you want to help the child to follow that structure. Consistency, remember, key. All right, you want to help that kiddo to develop problem-solving skills. This is a critical skill that kiddos need. If you want your child to do well, they have to learn how to problem solve. Not huge problems, but just little problems. Use those as teachable moments and encourage the child to problem solve it themselves. And if they are not able to, then you can come in and help them. As a parent, you want to intentionally use some terminologies at home. At best, explain those terminologies and help the child to practice. So terminologies like paying attention, growth mindset, solution focus, and being intentional, doing something with intentionality, and helping the child to practice some of these things at home. As a parent, you want to set realistic expectations and help the child to also learn how to set realistic expectations and how to achieve those expectations. Pay attention to any growth or developmental milestones. Whatever the child has been able to achieve or accomplish, don't sweep it under the carpet. Celebrate it. Point it out to the child. Celebrate with the child so that it will encourage them to keep doing well in those aspects. Moms and dads, you know that you are going to help your kids with homework. It's okay to help them with homework. However, you want to encourage independence work. If the child comes with a homework, don't do it for them completely, but ask them questions to stimulate their thought process so that they can come up with the answers themselves, particularly kiddos from second grade upwards. Now let's move on to our kiddos like third grade and up. With our kiddos third grade and up, by now you want to build upon your reading skills. And one way you can do that is encourage them to read aloud to you. I know the time is, challenging. Finding the time as a busy parent can be challenging. But one thing that has helped me over the years is that when I'm doing dishes or I'm driving them to school, I use those time in between to encourage them to read aloud. I listen and I ask questions. That's something that you can do with your kiddo. While you're cooking in the kitchen, while you're doing the dishes, the laundry, while you're driving them to school, you can take advantage of those moments and ask your kiddo to read to you aloud. Or make time to read with your kiddo at least once or twice a week to encourage their reading abilities. Okay. Now, between third and fifth grade, children are now beginning to form, friendship. It is not necessarily a solid friendship, but they're becoming more interested in friendship. So as a parent, get to know who their friends are. Get to know the type of activities that they engage with their friends. This aspect of your kiddo's life, it's going to be helping them to build their social skills. So pay attention to that. And if there are any friendship issues, help your child to navigate those friendship issues and difficulties so that it will help the child to develop, empathy, problem-solving skills, and managing any conflict that is, between them and their friends. All right. Now, as a mom, you want to pay attention to your child's metacognitive skills. And those skills includes like organizational skills, time management skills, how to self-regulate their emotions, learning to prioritize, and learning to set goals and working towards to achieve those goals independently. That sounds like it can be challenging. But as parents, you want to pay attention to that and you want to help your kiddo develop their skills on their own. They may need help here or there. It's totally fine to help them. But be intentional about letting your child work independently. One thing that you can do at home is that you can set up learning stations at home, which is part of the structure we were talking about, so that a child knows exactly where to sit to do their homework, where to find their materials. It also helps with organizational skills, just like we mentioned before, because they're able to organize everything at their learning stations at home, just like they have in school. And that consistency helps them to be able to be better learners. All right. Also, you want to pay attention to areas like their eating habits and their sleeping patterns. If the child is not getting enough sleep at night, that would affect them, their mood and their learning, ability in school. So you want to pay attention to those areas as well. Between third, particularly fourth and fifth grade, Your body is beginning to change, and some kiddos don't even pay attention at all. So, as parents, you want to draw the attention to, um, things like body odor, help them with their personal hygiene, encourage them, teach them. Most schools usually talk about personal hygiene and the body changing, but as a parent you want to take it upon yourself and you want to address those areas first before they do that in school. All right, pay attention to anxiety or anything that seems like it's a symptom of anxiety. Things like avoiding school, sleeping more or less. They don't want anything to do with friends. They are isolated, very fidgety and uncertain, disorganized, things like that. You want to pay attention to it. And if there's any symptoms of anxiety, please don't hesitate. Address it sooner than later. Now, if you have a kiddo who has been identified as a gifted and talented student, kindly pay attention to things like fear of failure or trying to be perfect in everything. Kiddos like that tend to withdraw from activities they perceive not to be good at. So if you are encouraging them to take on an activity and they look at it and realize, I don't think I can be good at this, or I cannot be perfect at this, they don't attempt at all. So if you have a kiddo who is a gifted and talented student, look out for some of these things. Failure, fear of failure, because they don't want to be considered as a failure, so they won't attempt. And also pay attention to anxiety. All right, these are the few fundamental skills that we want to touch base on today. Another time, we're going to build upon what we have discussed today, and we're going to be looking at middle schoolers and high schoolers. So stay in tune. Thank you, family, for joining me today on discussing the fundamental skills for our preschoolers and elementary school kiddos. It's been fun, and thank you for joining me on this journey so far. I appreciate you. You know that, right? I do appreciate you. Thank you. See you another time. Bye.